Speaker of the House Mike Johnson is with us. Mr. Speaker, great to see you. Happy America 250. Senator Mike Lee tweeting that we need a constitutional amendment to stop birthright citizenship, but that's going to be extremely difficult. Congress would need the approval of 290 members, 67 senators, and 38 states unless you eliminate the filibuster. So how are you planning to address this?
Yeah, it's a great question. Great to be with you, Rob, and happy Independence Day celebration to you as well.
Thank you.
We're celebrating the greatest nation in the history of the world. At the same time, we're dealing with these really unprecedented kind of challenges to our system. And the abuse of birthright citizenship is certainly one of those. The court got this wrong. It's of great concern to us. Mike Lee studies and understands the Constitution as I do. It may well require an amendment, but we're looking at all possible angles to see if there's anything short of that Congress can enact by statute to try to limit these abuses. It's a serious challenge to our national security and to our entire system of government and our culture, for that matter. Look, to amend the Constitution, as you said, requires 2/3 of both houses of Congress and 3/4 of the states to ratify it. Typically is a years-long process, and a lot of damage could be done in those years.
Yeah. 290 members. The president has suggested that Congress could codify his executive order. Is that a possibility? The Justice Department is also apparently going to explore ways to prosecute birth tourism. But those are not long-term solutions. If there's a Democrat president, that ends immediately. So what are you going to do?
Well, we're looking at all possible angles. The opinion just came down this week, as you know, and it's been a busy week here on the Hill. And so we're digging into the details, and we're going to do the deep depth analysis on it. I used to be a constitutional law attorney. I used to litigate these kinds of cases in the courts. Right. So this is up my alley, and but it's not something that we had contemplated before this litigation begun, and we've got to figure it out. I can tell you it's a serious problem. As our Secretary of Homeland explained in an interview just yesterday, Mark Wayne Mullen, he said, you know, what happens is, particularly with the Chinese, for example, they come here in the 8th month of pregnancy, have a child, the child has dual citizenship, they send them back to China, they train them as Marxist spies, and then they send them back to the U.S. to come to our universities and work in corporate America. They're stealing our intellectual property, and they're undermining our system. We got to address this.
Yeah, you think about, you could label them foreign nationals, foreign dignitaries, because a foreign dignitary born in the United States, if they have a child while they're in the U.S., they're not U.S. citizens, so you could label them foreign dignitaries. But again, as soon as there's a Democrat president, Mr. Speaker, that would come to an end. So a long-term solution is needed. I want to ask you about what's going on with the Democrat Party. Another radical communist, not socialist, communist, is likely going to be your colleague in the fall. Milot Quiros beat a 15-term incumbent Democrat in Colorado on Tuesday. There are now 27 socialists who have won primaries this year. Some will be headed to Washington. Do you think that makes it easier for Republicans to win races in November?
Yes, I think it is an assistance to us in the short term for the midterm election, but I can tell you we have serious concern about the future of the country and the rise of communism. It is what it is. You're right. Their ideology, they cloak themselves under this term, the Democratic Socialists of America, but these are outright Marxist, and their positions, the things that they're saying and advocating for out loud, they're not trying to hide it. I mean, they want to abolish all borders, abolish all law enforcement. They want to remove the president and the Supreme Court. I mean, they support, you know, taxpayer-funded trans surgeries on minors. I mean, just think of anything that defies common sense in the American way, and these people are openly advocating for it. We're in a battle right now. We're not arguing here in Washington anymore about marginal tax rates or regulation. We're trying to decide if we're going to maintain a constitutional republic or go down this dark communist fight to prevent that, and I'm convinced we can win it.
And it makes the SAVE Act that much more important, the Save America Act, even if it's stripped down and it's just voter ID. Have you ever seen in 250 years an American political party this radical before?
No, this is unprecedented, unchallenged. You know, Ronald Reagan used to talk a lot about the threat of communism, but he was talking about the threat from a distant shore. These people are in our homeland. They were coming up through the system. They are the remnant of the old Fabian socialists that they used to say at the turn of the last century, that they wanted to undermine America through the institutions, not by bloodshed and open warfare, but gradually. And they've had a lot of patience, and they've been building this infrastructure. And here we are. The barbarians are inside the gate now.
Right.
Serious business, and it calls for serious action, and we're ready to do that.
And it's not just a Democrat problem anymore. It's now an American problem when these people get, into the Capitol in November, and they're working with you. Just Just a question on America 250. So there were 56 signers of the Declaration, prominent, wealthy men at their time. They knew they'd likely be hung for treason if America lost the war. If we lost the resolution, they still signed it anyway. Do politicians today still have that kind of courage? Does that still exist on Capitol Hill in Washington?
It does in the hearts of many. You know, pledging our lives, our fortunes, our sacred honor is what the founders said. There's that level of commitment now. It's a different kind of battle. They set the foundations in place for this extraordinary experiment in self-governance, the greatest nation in the history of the world. And we are now handed that to steward and maintain and keep. And the way you do it is by defending those essential foundations. They're under direct assault right now, as we've been discussing. And we need serious people to be here working around the clock to defend this so that we can pass liberty and opportunity and security along to our children like we've always had and enjoyed. That is not a sure thing. And Reagan said, freedom is not passed along in the bloodstream. It's got to be fought for, protected, taught, passed along to the next generation. This is the challenge of our time, Rob, and we're up for it, but we need all hands on deck.
If Mike Johnson is a delegate from Louisiana, which was not a state at that time, does he sign the Declaration of Independence in 1776?
As large as John Hancock, and I wish the Louisiana Purchase had happened sooner. We would have had someone there in the room.
Larger. Thank Thomas Jefferson for that. Mr. Speaker, great to have you on. We appreciate you coming back. Good to see you. Thank you.
Thank you, my friend.